It's that time of year again. It is Crush Live Poker's Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale. Act now and you can get 30% off of all plan levels, including the Yearly Elite subscription. And if you purchase the Yearly Elite subscription, you will also get 3 months for free. The Fast Roll app, which is an app that will help you track your hands and write live notes at the table. And you'll get 3 months of Left Pocket, which is an app where you can record all of your results and help with your bankroll tracking. Check it out. Just click on the link down below. Hello, Van. You are up next, sir.
Hey, Bart. How you doing?
How's it going, Van? It was good to see you in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah, likewise.
In the Philly meetup. I don't know if you caught the flagship podcast this week, but if I had known that PLO was somewhat new to Parks, in the sense that it's not new, but the amount of games, according to Michael G, is somewhat new, I probably would have just stayed there and not gone to Borgata, because you played in some of the PLO games, right, at Parks?
Yeah, that actually would have been a really good night for you to just stay and
Right.
play 5-5.
Because, I mean, because Mike said there used to only be one 2-2 game and an occasional 1-5-5 game, but then I was like, Mike, there's 4 5-5s and like 5 2-2s. He's like, oh, that's brand new. And I was like, really? And I know we have another subscriber, Miles. And the interesting thing about the Parks 2-2 game is actually, I mean, all PLO plays big, but it's not 5 to bring in, so it's 700. So it's not quite as big as like a 2-2 1K type of game, I would say. But yeah, man, I mean, super, I'm sure it's very, very profitable. But I believe you have a Hold'em hand for us, right, today?
Yeah, it's a non-hand call, more of an etiquette question.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'll keep the details brief, but it's a 5-5 home game and emphasis on the home part because as you know, there are a lot of underground games that operate as a business, for profit with rake. This home game does take a small rake, but I would generally characterize it as your true home game. It's just a bunch of buddies coming together who like to play poker, and if they can get the players together, then they run. That's how it goes.
Okay.
So it's 5-5, and it's playing pretty deep. We had going about 4 hours, so let's say everyone's about at least like 400 big blinds deep. And toward the end, it starts to slow down. So someone recommends playing the knit game.
Which is like the stand-up game, is that right?
Exactly. It is the stand-up game. And we had a lot of recreational players at the table who weren't really familiar with the knit game. So the host, then a dealer, he explains it to everyone. And basically, we agreed upon a $20 bounty to be paid out. So if you lost the knit game, you basically owe $160 to the rest of the table.
And just if anybody that doesn't know, I mean, they do it all the time on Hustler Casino Live. I mean, the knit game, whatever you want to call it, the stand-up game is everybody agrees to sort of put an ante in, and then the person every time, so we start, and then if I win a pot, like, I'm safe. And usually it was called the stand-up game because everybody actually started standing up, and then when you won a pot, you sat down. That was how you would indicate who is safe for this whole bounty. And then people were sort of annoyed. I don't want to stand up, so now I use markers. But that's how it comes: knit game, stand-up game. So the last person that doesn't win a pot will owe all the other players whatever the ante is in this case. So if you were playing 9-handed and you were the last one to win a pot, or you never won a pot, you would owe 8 times 20, $160. That's the knit or stand-up game. And it really depends on how big that ante is in terms of how it affects the way that people might play. I saw some crazy shit. One of the very, very first, one of the very first live streams, I think it was like 10 years ago. It was before any of the casinos had licenses in Las Vegas. Poker Night in America, we did this live stream like 2015, 2016. I remember Elke, Antonio Esfandiari. I was doing the commentary. The knit game, like, the ante was not that big, and these guys were losing their fucking mind. Like, Elke, his normal stats were like 20/15. All of a sudden, he's like, he's blasting off like 50K on a bluff to try to like win like $200 a person or something. It was insane. I don't know if that was the 7 deuce in the knit game, but it's same concept. So that's the knit game.
Yeah, and rightfully so. It does drive action, especially if things are slow. So we agreed to the knit game, and in the very first hand of play, a sort of cooler spot emerges. 3 players wind up getting it all in pre-flop, and the hands are king king versus queen queen versus ace king off, and the pot itself is huge. It's like over 5K, and they only decide to run it once.
Okay.
Now, queen queen winds up coolering king king. They turn a set and they scoop.
Okay.
So hand is done, and at that point, both the players who had king king and ace king get up. They quit the game, and the king king player is really the main person here because he is a new player to the game. You know, recreational player, really nice guy. The money isn't really a big deal for him, and as he gets up to leave, clearly, I don't think he understood the knit game because he takes a $20 bill out of his pocket and he puts on a table and he starts to head towards the door. And then the guy who proposed the knit game, you know, basically said, "Hey, what's going on? You if you guys are going to leave, then you owe $160 between the both of you," which is technically correct, right? Because if you don't rebuy, you have to pay out of pocket. That's the general rule for the stand-up game. And the guy who basically got cool with king king kind of looked confused, and I think he was a little surprised. And I kind of was reading the room at that point, and I realized that maybe this isn't really the best time to enforce this rule because he's clearly upset and kind of unsettled. So I step in and say, "Look, don't worry about it. You know, we got you covered. You know, thanks for coming. You know, hopefully you'll come back next time." So then the guy who proposed the knit game, he basically just throws a tantrum. He's like, "This is not fair. You know, you're these are the rules. If they lose, they're supposed to pay." And then he and I started getting into it. It's like you know, he's like, you know, "Why are you attacking my character?" And I'm like, "Dude, just read the room." Like,
Yeah. 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 I have
so so that's my question. Like, basically, am I the asshole here for trying to
no.
step in and protect this guy?
Well, so I have a couple things to say about this, right? So you're talking about, first of all, I'll address what you said about what happens when someone leaves, because that's an interesting question, because I don't even know the answer, because they don't really play this game. The only time I've ever really played this game is on live streams. Now, if you're playing I also, like when I went to Texas a few weeks ago, I also saw them playing it in the big game as well. So it's live streams and somewhat curated private types of games, usually. Because if you're just playing a knit game, if someone just decides to play the knit game like in a casino and someone goes bust, there's no rules to enforce. I've never heard of a casino actually having a rule. It's kind of like a gentleman's agreement about what the knit game is. So when you take a step back and realize like you're playing in a curated game anyways, probably with the knit game, Van, you are approaching the game from a profitable player, from a smart profitable player's perspective, meaning even whatever, if you're even if you're a part-time professional, you're trying to play for profit, you are trying to do what is good for the game. You get it. There's a lot of guys that don't get it. And the worst guys that don't get it are actually the ones that are trying to play for profit. This is why I get on Euros so bad. But there's also situations, Van, which is kind of what it sounds like here, where you do have other recreational players that don't get it. So you've got for-profit players that quote unquote get it, for-profit players that don't get it, and then you have recreational players that might get it and don't get it. The unfortunate
It would be number two in this case.
Profitable that doesn't get it, or recreational that doesn't get it?
Yeah, because to his credit, this guy, he's a good poker player.
All right, well, he's the worst then. I was going to take he's the worst type. I was going to take this from the perspective of, if you can just imagine this for a little bit, you can't really do anything about the recreational player that doesn't get it because he's a recreational player, meaning like that guy's like a losing player. These are the types of guys that you just really can't do anything about. Like when you're in the hand with somebody and like they were going to fold their hand. We've talked about this many times, right? And then this recreational player tells this guy, "Oh, you've got the winning hand. Don't fold your hand. You don't have a flush. You don't have a straight," right? And then he's not supposed to say that, right? Because somebody didn't table their hand. But he's a recreational player too, and he doesn't know any better. Now, if it's a for-profit player that says that, you better believe I would be fuming. And in this case, yeah, that guy, what a moron. You know what I'm saying? Like if he's a for-profit player and he can't read the room, that somebody didn't necessarily understand what the knit game was, or that this guy just won a big pot and we can let this guy slide for $20, he's going to be a rule stickler. Like, who invited? How is this guy even in the game, Van? If he has that attitude.
We won't get into it.
Oh, one
We'll
of
know
those guys.
story there.
Right. So he's in the game maybe because he props up the game or he's a friend with the host. But yeah, no, of course you're not an asshole. I think that you can speak up to kind of wrap this in a bow, no matter what the situation is. You can definitely speak up in favor and try to protect the recreational player as a part of being a for-profit player. I think it's a good thing. Nobody can force you to speak up and try to protect somewhat the recreational player. Whether that is calling somebody out who's trying to angle the recreational player, or in this case, hey, let the guy slide. I think that's a good approach to the game as a for-profit player. These things are all, it's got nothing to do with poker skill, but it has to do with like social skill. And the higher your social skill in navigating these types of situations, the higher your win rate will be when you can get invited into these curated games, right? Like getting in the game a lot of time is half the battle now, especially as you move up in stakes. So I say like it's your duty to in any type of situation, it's your duty to basically tell if a hand is tabled, it's your duty to, to say to somebody, hey, like the hand is tabled. In a private game, that's actually can be a little bit different. But I think in this case, like as a for-profit player, if you want to build on certain skills and improve certain skills to like sort of help you continue to get into good games, speaking up for other people that are not for-profit players, if they're either being taken advantage of or just kind of defending them and sticking up for them, I think overall is a good approach. I don't know what that guy's problem is. Like I said, I just assumed that the other guy that was making a big stink of it was just like a recreational player that doesn't get it, quote unquote. You know what I mean? And people can say, I haven't even read the live chat yet. Oh, it's in the rules. It's in the rules. Guys, it's life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just be a rule stickler about everything. It just doesn't work that way. So I think of course, I think you handled it fine, Van.
Good to know.
Yeah. So what ended up happening, by the way?
So basically, first of all, the guy was throwing up the fuss. He said, "Well, I'm not playing. I'm not going to play the net game because he didn't want to potentially pay out that $20 bounty." But the host got it right. They were immediately on top of it. They said, "Look, don't worry about it. We'll cover it." And we wound up just canceling the net game right after it started.
Well, some people in the live chat are chiming in saying, well, I bet if that happened to somebody else, that guy would be the one asking for the money. It doesn't sound like that's a situation. It sounds like the way the Van is conveying this is the guy who wasn't paying, didn't even understand what was going on. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not talking about like allowing yourself to be free rolled per se, but you do have to read the room sometimes in these certain situations. And to be honest with you, I've never been in a situation where I've gotten knocked out during a Nick game. Like, I don't even know what the etiquette is supposed to be. I guess it makes sense if you guys have an agreement that you're supposed to pay the 160 if you're not going to rebuy. But again, this would really only happen in a private, curated type of game. And it sounds to me like the other guy was just sort of trying to just he actually threw his $20 in, almost like his portion of it, which I suppose could be somewhat of an equitable solution as well.
Yeah, I mean, his intent was to pay it out, but
Right.
fundamentally, he never just understood it from the start. So we're
Yeah.
not going to hammer him for that, right?
Right. So those PLO games were good, huh, Van?
Very good. I would say the 2-2 is probably the best game in the casino, and it essentially runs 24/7. So next time you're around, definitely hop in.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.